Let's do this.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Don't Tip On podcast. This is a weird, different, cool episode. We're like on the screen right here, and we got
Carl,
a huge YouTuber right here on the screen.
Welcome. What's up?
Carl.
Thank you. This is
Carl.
awesome. I'm so stoked, you guys. This is really cool.
Thank you
So
for
excited.
coming on.
Yes, thank you so much. I feel like I'm just like talking and hanging out with a buddy of mine because we go way back to the beginning days of YouTube. And for those of y'all that don't know who Carl and Jinger are,
The Carl and Jinger family.
the Carl and Jinger family, yes, they y'all have been around YouTube for a hot minute.
10 years now. Yeah,
10
we've been at it for a decade. Yeah.
2009, huh?
Yeah,
It's crazy to even
2009.
think YouTube's been around that long. Like, you know?
Yeah, I
remember
was thinking-
when YouTube first started.
I was thinking about it. It was like back when we started, I was just talking to Charles Trippy yesterday on the phone, actually. We were talking about camera equipment, or day before yesterday. And we were talking about back when we started, like, SD cards hadn't even been commercially made available yet. Like, they were still, like, big, and, like, you couldn't take an SD card and put it in a camera and then put it in your computer. It was all like there was no smartphones even, really.
Right.
It was all point and shoot cameras, and then you had to like
Stuff back then, right?
plug them in and transfer all that footage and go through that whole mess. It was a nightmare, you know.
What were you
But
blogging on back then? Like, what did you
The
start with?
webcam.
I started with a webcam. I started with
Yeah.
Oh, there you
yeah,
go.
and it was like asking everybody rate 5 stars, you know.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the rating system. You had to rate 5 stars and all that.
Yeah, it all started
my
like
gosh.
a lot like a MySpace page. Like you used to have like a whole community chat page, and like you could change the background image. And have you ever gone on the Wayback Machine, like on the internet, and like typed in your YouTube channel and looked at it back when you started? It's so funny.
Wait, is that a website that you can do?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
So you go to archive.org or something like that, and then you go to the Wayback Machine, and that site like takes a screen capture of all the internet sites whenever they're pinged, and so you can go back to like 2010 or 2011 and see like right when you started your channel what the page looked like. It's really weird.
That's amazing.
awesome.
You should totally do
That
it
part of
sometime.
It is like the having those memories and looking back. Is that kind of part of the reason that you started doing this? Kind of like tell us what motivated you to get started because 10 years ago this wasn't really a thing, you know?
Yeah, I honestly got started just like out of desperation. Like I was living in a small town. We were, married and had kids and stuff. And I was just doing the thing like everybody does, just going to work and coming home and going to work and coming home and just raising the kids. And it was just like, they call it the grind. I was just at the grind.
Yeah.
Felt like at the bottom of this huge mountain of like, where am I going to go? But even if I didn't accomplish anything like amazing in life, there was just something about like, we're not getting out and doing anything,
Yeah.
And I just remember feeling like if I got into photography, then that would get us outdoors, like we'd go out and take pictures more. Maybe I'll get a hobby and we could get a camera. And so that's where it started. And so I started thinking about photography and cameras and stuff. And then like YouTube was all just kind of going on just at the very initial phases. And then it turned into the weight loss thing. And I joined Shay Carl's Shay Loss.
That's where I knew you. That's where I started to find you and figure out who you were.
Right.
And all that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I started some webcam videos. Like my very first upload is called 5 Life Goals, where I just sat in front of my webcam. I was like 400 pounds. I had like full-blown depression. Like I was just unhappy, not going anywhere in life. And my first video was like, I want to set 5 goals and start a video journal, trying to accomplish those goals and stuff. And then as a part of that, I joined the weight loss community. And then with that came like some weight loss challenges and subscribers and joining other friends up in the challenges and stuff. And then when the challenge ended, I had like 3,000 subscribers and just kept going, like making videos with my friends, and did that for like 3 years without making any money at all, without that even on the radar,
Yeah.
And then it was like, wait, you can do this for a living?
Yeah.
Right.
And then,
doing the
yeah.
hobby, huh?
Right. Yeah. And then it all kind of turned and became a whole thing and just kept going. So we just kept doing it.
I know just from knowing you for so long, there was the Shay loss stuff, and then or the weight loss stuff, and then after that, God, what was your character?
You had a different channel, didn't you? Like you started.
Oh, I did one called Richard.
What was it, Richard?
Richard, yeah.
Yes. He would do these funny comedic skits where he'd like fall out of a boat, and like it was hilarious.
Yeah, it was just like slapstick comedy stuff, like doing character work, and it was fun.
I did wear these big like beer goggles and glasses, and just be like, "Hey, today we're going fishing."
Yeah, just like, making dumb skits and stuff. Yeah, those are fun. My dad liked those a lot. I made a lot of those. My dad would beg me to make those all the time. He'd be like, "You got to make another Richard video." Saying, "All right," so I'd make him another one. So those
I think
fun.
That may have inspired me, or not necessarily inspired me. I think the freaking boredom of being at home and loving what I was doing as far as the YouTube world and community goes. When I saw other people acting like idiots on the internet, I started Crunk Kitchen.
Yeah, I was about to say Crunk Kitchen was your
and it's just crazy how you come up with these things in your head, your creativity outlet or whatever you want to call it, to escape the real world. And I would lay in bed at night thinking, okay, what else can I throw on my car engine and cook tomorrow? Or I'm sure you were coming up with Richard skits, you know.
It somehow feels like a way out. Like the internet's kind of done that. YouTube's kind of done that. It's like gives you a window out to the rest of the world, where before everybody's kind of in these little villages in their hometown, you know. Now it's like you can see the outside world and interact with it and like make videos and show yourself, and it's kind of cool, you know. But all that has turned into this whole thing now with these kids on YouTube now. They've grown up with it. It's like all they know. They don't realize that I had kids before I got a cell phone.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
I mean, it's funny too, because it's like, would you have even done these things in your, like, if it wasn't going to strangers? You know what I mean? Like, would you have just done that video just to send to like your family or your friends?
I don't know.
You know, because you can kind of embarrass yourself and make it.
That's what's so funny is like I look back and I did it my whole life. Though is the thing. Like me and my brothers and friends and stuff, we used to get these old camcorders that took an entire VHS tape, and we would go out and make like we grew up in Idaho. So one time we made the Idaho Olympics, and we did everything with potatoes, and we filmed this whole thing. Yeah, all the sports were with potatoes, you know, and everything like golf and shot put and everything was all with these big potatoes and stuff.
Did you have a potato gun?
Those were all over the place. Yeah, everybody has potato guns. But we used to have to stack 2 VCR players together and cable them together and hit like play on one and record on the other, and that's how I edited. Like back when I was a kid, like I had 2 VCRs stacked together, and then I was doing that when I was a little kid, and then I was always doing like drama and acting. And I have these VHS tapes of just me and my friends doing these stupid like Julius Caesar skits where we just do this little scene from Julius Caesar, and then when it gets to the murder, it's just like this giant violent action scene that goes for 5 minutes of all these different ways he dies. It's like so stupid.
That is hilarious.
But yeah, we've been doing stuff like that my whole life, I think. Like
that's so
You're born
like
for this.
we're like meant to be friends because like I have the same memories, and like I still get ragged by some of my high school buddies for accidentally deleting this footage of one night we had a spend the night party over at his house, and it was when wrestling was WWF was like huge. And we had our costumes on, and we had our intro music.
Dude, back when it was Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant, you had when Sting went bad and went all like black like the Crow.
NWO.
Gold Dust, man.
I
remember all that.
We created a whole freaking WWE episode one time. Choke slams, power bombs, and everything. And then I woke up the next morning so excited to show my mom, and was going through this old camcorder and not knowing what I was doing, and deleted the whole thing. And they were so mad.
So let me ask you this, Cullen. How many times have you kind of lost footage and done that since?
Oh, gosh. I just did it before the freaking beach trip with Ellie and Jared and Brian and Missy. Jared had to help me recover. We spent like $180 on recovery software trying to figure it out. And then still couldn't get it. But
doesn't your heart just break though? Because it's not even it's not even like, for me, you remember when they first came out with the waterproof cameras? I was going down I was tubing down the river, and I don't know what we hit a rapid or something, and it flew off and it was gone. And you know, you try to scramble to get it before it sinks, and it was gone. And so we spent forever like diving, trying to feel it, but it was gone. And for the rest of the trip, on that river trip, the rest of the time I'm just in my tube crying.
Oh, I know. The loss is like,
because it was my brand new waterproof camera, you know, and then on top of it, but it wasn't even that mattered. It was the memories that I wasn't going to have, like all those great pictures.
There's no way you can go back and recreate it. There's no way.
There's no way. Yeah. And I tried to talk my way out of that one too. I was like, you can power bomb me again. We can set it up. But when you're in the mode and in the zone, it just comes off the cuff too easily.
Right.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
One time I was on a party bus in Denver, and I had a camera and I lost it, and I just kept thinking, like, you know, if I ever ran for president, that thing would show up. You know, like all the pictures that we took,
all the stuff on there. Like, somebody's be like, look what I found.
Well, it's so inspiring watching you over the years, especially from way back 10 years ago to now. I mean, you have completely changed your momentum and changed your upload technique and mindset and everything else. And just you were talking about doing all this before you had kids. Now you've got kids that are doing it. Okay, so first of all, you've got the Carl and Ginger channel with over 3 million subscribers. Yeah. Is that right? And then you've got your son Kyle's Games.
Kyle's Toys and Games. Yeah.
He's got over 1 million.
How old is Kyle?
Yeah, he's 10.
So, he was 1 year old when he became YouTube.
Yeah, he was in diapers, sitting in the high chair when we first started. Yeah,
that is crazy.
And now he's got his own thing.
He edits.
He's got his own channel. Right? He can. He'll run the camera and do a lot. He can live stream. We can give him a GoPro and say, "Hey, go do your intro," and he does all that. He doesn't do a lot of the technical stuff on the computer yet, but that's coming in his next homeschool year. Some of that. Yeah. But my older boys, Gage, he does all his own editing, graphic design. We made him save up his money and buy his own laptop and camera and everything. We're
responsible.
We'll teach you.
It's so like inspiring. A family business, you know?
It really is.
It really is. Yeah. Some people are like farmers, you know, and the kids go out and move pipe and buck hay and brand the cows, and we're YouTubers. So they learn how to edit and Photoshop, and like, we don't grind it into them and stuff. And we're actually we're getting ready to adapt. A lot of the things that people don't understand, they're like, oh, you guys have rebranded in so many times and you've changed your content and you've gone from vlogging to this and to that. A lot of it is honestly just trying to keep peace and happiness in the home without imploding the business at the same time. But you know, you get on a certain trend or something that you get in a rhythm and it feels good and it's working. But with that can come that weariness and exhaustion of it over time. And it doesn't matter how much you love it. If you start out with a character or skits, after time, you grow to hate it, you know, and sometimes even an individual project, by the time you actually get to upload it, you're so sick of that project, you know, it wears on you. So a lot of our changes and stuff has come from just knowing that this is a long game that we want to play and not just burning out and quitting, you know? So we just monitor our peace of mind and happiness and adapt to that instead of freaking out over the trends as much.
Right. That's so crazy. We were just talking about this on our last podcast. And it's, you know, when it becomes a job, I was telling Cullen, he's been doing it so long too. And I said, when it becomes a job, it's it just takes that passion away from it. And, you know, and it makes you kind of not bitter and resent it, not, you know, but a little bit of that, you know what I mean? Because it's oh, I have to do this today instead of, oh, this will be fun. Let's do this today. You know?
Well, and our kids are at such pivotal ages now. They've grown up on the internet, birth vlogs, all that kind of stuff. But at a certain point, doing the daily vlogs, we only do 3 days a week now, but doing the daily, you could just see at even a young age that they were getting annoyed with the camera being shoved in their face. And so it's just okay, we need to.
We're doing all that right now. We're getting ready. the last of this way of doing videos has just been edited, and I haven't even watched it yet. It's probably going to get uploaded tomorrow. But then after tomorrow's upload on my channel, totally new direction again.
Really?
Yeah.
That's insane.
That's awesome.
He is like known for like you do like the Lego bridges across the pool and the Wubble Bubble Nerf battle, and then the mystery
house
stuff, and
real like fun. Woo! Let's
Right.
So y'all stay tuned for what's to come. I'm excited now. You got me all hooked on this.
Some of that's still going to be there, but the way that we approach it's going to be way, way different. Like the whole, I'm excited.
That's exciting.
Do you have any switch, and any turn in the road that you regret that you would take back over your career? Any two?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think
when you started doing the MMA stuff and eating hot sauce. Is that it? No,
no, yeah. Well, I wish I could have done the MMA stuff. That would have been cool. I injured my back really bad training one day and ended up having to have surgery. So that's why that one went away. But regrets, honestly, I think, I wouldn't say regrets. I just think like if I could go back and do it knowing what I know now, I think I spent so much time, it's hard to describe. So like, I thought I had all my intentions and what I thought was important put in the wrong bucket, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning like I was in the beginning, I was really, really passionate about the content, knew nothing about the strategy of like search engine optimization and how to name anything or how to even get seen, or anything.
Business side of it.
The business side of it, I had no clue of that. So I was just running, having fun and all that stuff, which is great. But then like when I finally realized actually Jinger it clicked for her, and she's just like, there's like a method to this. She started seeing the patterns coming out of other people's channels and stuff and what other people were doing. And so we figured that out a little bit, but then it's kind of shifted the other way where we're like, wow, this works. And so we latched onto that and attached to that method so heavy that I think we kind of lost sight of the magic of just capturing it as we went a little bit. Like it became too contrived at some point, but the kind of selling out and going like full blown with the trends and challenges really helped us get where we are now and really surge ahead to be able to now go back full circle and kind of revisit the vlog style, but do it in a way more artistic kind of professional way, because we have the team to do it and the knowledge to do it and the SEO to actually hopefully get it seen and be confident to do it without the fear of wondering if like anybody's even going to see it at all. My dog is freaking out at the door. Come here. You guys want to meet her?
Oh my God. This is a new one, right?
This is our new one.
Shiba Inu.
This is the Shiba Inu.
Of what our dog Ada was just over here, like a miniature version of that. We get asked all the time if our dog is a Shiba Inu.
Really?
Shiba Inu.
She's got this curly tail and the pointy ears.
Yeah, boings.
Is she a puppy? Yeah.
She's just a puppy right now. Yeah, she's only like 3 months old. Leela.
I thought the dogs with the tails that do that, those are like fighting dogs, right?
Some of them. The chows are. Like chow dogs.
Ours is a Basenji. In a husky mix, and you see them like some of the natives like would wrap because they've got long legs, they would wrap them around their neck and carry them like that. And it's just that's how they ride. But I thought she was part Shiba Inu.
Yeah.
When we first got her.
I was gonna say, it's crazy that you were talking about this, because we had just been talking about this too, about how people that watch your videos or anything that you're do, they don't realize that when you started this, you were the producer, the talent, the writer, the manager, you know what I mean? Like you had to take on all these different roles. And so it's only natural that it goes from something that's, more off the cuff and like vlog or whatever to these kind of more scripted and fun things. You know what I mean? That's just natural progression of it.
Yeah.
But it's been awesome for you. I mean, obviously you're very successful for it. So I guess what would you tell people like me that are, that are still small family channels and stuff like that? Like what direction do you think would our advice that you have for me, what direction do you think would be best to do like a family vlog, you know?
Oh, I think that's, yeah, man, that's a really good question. I think, will you rephrase that one more time and ask it again? I heard like
sure,
three questions come out of there, and I didn't know which one I want to answer
me,
here.
You know, Cullen's been doing this a long time. I know you've been doing it a long time. For me, I'm, you know, I've been doing about a little over a year, I guess a year and a half, something like that. I have 18,000 subscribers on my family channel. I have a new little baby, you know what I mean? And so that's why it's not so much party anymore. It's more family stuff. So this was a great way for me. And thanks to Cullen and Katie to help me get started. But this was a great way for me. You see what I'm doing? To do something while, because I'm going to be at home with the baby, and I'm a very social person. So this is like a great way for me to be social and still, you know, feel like I'm out there doing things and involved and having fun and doing these kind of outgoing things, right? Yeah. Through my channel. So I guess my question is, like, what advice do you have for somebody like me that only has 18,000 subscribers who wants to grow their channel?
I would say don't overthink all the details right now too much, as far as like, you have to know what matters and what doesn't, and focus on the stuff that matters. Because initially, that's such a cute baby. Initially, you are going to, by the way. What's that?
This is Sophia, by the way.
Oh, hi, Sophia. I would say
that matters. That's, you know, we are really excited about just doing this because we know that it's going to make us kind of record a lot of her life growing up, which I think is going to be really cool for her to be able to look back on, you know?
Right.
But I like that. Don't nitpick it, huh?
Yeah. Well, the problem is that you're going to find that as it grows, like as subscribers grow and then as the income grows, your intensity about it can grow too, and try to match that to keep it up. So it feels like something you have to feed, you know, like, and that can build and build. But as it grows and you're doing everything yourself and your quality gets better and your expectations go up and things like that, that pressure just builds and builds and builds. And you're never, ever, ever going to get there. I'll just tell you that right now. This idea of feeling that you're going to finally achieve something, or that you're going to feel like I made it, is never, ever going to come.
No,
it's never. You're playing a slot machine here in a way, with a good strategy, and with knowing how the guts of the slot machine works. You're going to time things right and play it to your advantage, but there's still a lot out of your control. But basically, as it grows, the biggest mistake people make is they try to expand, I think, and they like hire their first person to help them, and they hire somebody that they have no idea what they're doing, and then they have to train them all, and then they're split in two, and then their money's split and everything, you know. And the thing is that, like, you have to decide the parts of the work that you feel are slowing you down the most. Okay. So we were like, okay, so like editing, like I felt like handcuffed with the editing, because what was happening with the constraints of editing was I found myself psychologically not filming as openly and as freely as I wanted to, because I knew I was building a mountain of footage for me to edit later. And so it was creating this loop of negativity for myself that made my content go worse. So it was like, once I became aware of that, it's like, if I can offload the editing, then the editor has to be somebody we have 3 rules that we've kind of figured out. They either have to be better at it than we are, if we're going to hire them. So the editor has to be faster or better at it than we are. They have to save us time, or they have to make us money. If sometimes you'll like hire somebody and you realize, man, I'm spending all this time training them. They're costing me time, they're costing me money, and they're worse at it than I am. What am I doing? They're not a good fit. They're not a good fit. And when you're starting and it's just you and you're doing it all, that first person that you bring on, or the first few people that you get to help you, make sure that they're really, really, really good and better at you at all the stuff that you hate to do, or that you feel like is really bogging you down, because then that helps you become free. They get to do what they like. Yeah, for example, and here's where it gets weird. It might not even be with YouTube. It might be with a housekeeper.
Yeah.
You might realize, whoa, for like, okay, instead of an editor, for like $200 a month instead of like $2,000 a month. I can hire a housekeeper. Now I'm not doing my laundry. I'm not cleaning. I'm not cooking. Or maybe I'm cooking, but maybe I'll hire a cook too. So if I pay $400 a month to free up all this part of my life that I don't like to do, I'm giving jobs to people that want to build their business, cleaning business or whatever, who want to be a travel around chef. They're happy. I'm happy. And now all my time, instead of doing laundry and trying to clean my house to get ready to film, I can just go grab my camera and start because it's done.
Right.
You know?
That saves you 3-4 hours. Yeah.
So sometimes if you're like, man, I can't find anybody good enough at all this YouTube stuff to do the editing or to take over the Photoshop, it's too much money. Then you turn around and say, well, then who can do my laundry and mow my lawn? I can free up all that time for freaking cheap. Yeah. I can free up my life for cheap.
One of the most dangerous things, especially for me, in my situation, well, first of all, kind of backing up, I think it's fun to sit there, and when you've done it so long, you can kind of look at a video or an idea and be like, this is going to get 1 million views. This is gonna, I mean, you can kind of like pick apart the algorithm, and you know, and you can automatically assume that you're going to make good views on that. And I'd say half and half, especially for our channel, it's half and half. But like a lot of these creators now, they can literally do something knowing it's going to get views. Yeah. And there's a great fine line of like, do I do this for the views, or do I do this because I'm passionate about it, or do I just like the struggle to get through this just because I want the views, I want the
that comes
fame,
across in your video, right? I mean, people pick up on that kind of stuff. So,
and then I was gonna say, personally for me, when I discovered the whole editor world out there, I was like, oh my gosh, I've been doing this daily for 6 years. This is like a vacation now. And not really, but it was just like, we started with just weekends. I was like, I actually have the weekends kind of quote unquote off. And then it was like 3-4 days a week. And then it was like full time. And over time, yes, it was very weight off my shoulders. But at the same time, I wasn't able to really
have control.
Well, I would have control because I would tell him what to do, how to do it, and this is what I wanted. And I mean, for the most part, I would say that there was some really surprising edits. I was like, oh, he did that a lot better than I would do. But then on the flip side, I was like, I couldn't convey what I was trying to get across in my mind onto paper. And so it didn't turn out the way I wanted it. And then I slowly, and then we've kind of talked about the addiction stuff on the podcast. Slowly just kind of got wrapped up into, I'm just going to film something and hope he puts it together good. And I'm going to stay back over here and smoke and drink and chill.
You turned to that as your hobby instead of the actual vlogging as your hobby.
My passion kind of went
shifted.
I just wasn't in it. And my mind and then it turned from not even me sending footage to where I would rely on Katie to send the footage over to the editor. And so it's like, literally, what am I doing? Like I'm not. And so you
putting it off.
It's almost like you live in the high life. You got the maid and the editor and all this stuff, but then you gotta, once you step back and take a look at the big picture.
I think that's honestly the way life is, like in a lot of ways. Like imagine if you're like a musician and you get into music, and at the beginning you're just like kind of playing for friends and doing it for fun, and then you realize you kind of have an audience and a talent, and then you have some fans actually, and then you got people saying you're actually really good, and then you're getting sponsorships and it grows and all that stuff, you know. And then but then pretty soon this thing that you loved, writing music, becomes this thing where they're like, where's your next album? You know, hey, the deadlines are due. This is, you got to make these cuts. We don't like this. And all of a sudden you're like, you've created this, the harder you were running in life, the faster the demons are chasing behind you in a way. And you got to be really careful.
Next thing you know, you're on a stinking tour bus and you miss your family. You just want to go home, and all you did was pick up a guitar to play with your friends.
That's what I'm trying to learn right now. It doesn't matter if you're a musician or if you're a YouTuber, if you get really passionate in day trading or whatever, like if you're not right in your own head, if you don't know how to have that peace of mind,
hang on. Sorry, what did I do? What did I do?
Got an audio glitch.
There we go. Okay, so what were we saying? Doing cocaine on a bus.
Is that where we left off?
I think so.
Oh, we were just saying how like
that's what you were talking about.
I don't think it matters. Like if you're baking pies and you like to make pies and stuff, and you open a bakery or whatever, like, man, or if you don't have your head on straight and know yourself and have that peace of mind, those demons are gonna catch you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're gonna get running down that path, and it can haunt you. You got to be careful. But
I think it doesn't really matter what you do. I think that it's just healthy to switch it up anyway. You know what I mean? Just for your own, like for me, I just get bored easy. So, if I want to switch things up, I just think that it's natural to want to do that. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like you've done so many things in the same realm of what you're comfortable with and what you love. And to keep that passion for it, I think that's inspiring. That's awesome. I wanted to ask you a question. So, I just kind of was researching you a little bit, stalking you on the internet, trying to find, before we came on. And I saw that like you and your wife, y'all knew each other 10 weeks before you got married.
Yeah.
What? That's crazy.
What? I didn't even know that.
Right?
Yeah.
10 weeks. Yeah, we got set up on a blind date.
Yeah.
I called her on the phone, got her phone number from a mutual friend that was like, hey, this girl wants you to ask her out. So I was like, oh, that's cool. So I called her.
Friends like that.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
So and right off the bat, when we talked on the phone, it was like immediate. We talked for like an hour on the phone. It was easy conversation, just really natural. And then we went out on the first date, and it was just awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you said, I've got a black belt in karate. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw
basically. Right.
Yeah. I see that picture behind you on your stand there. Look at that.
Oh yeah, I got
crazy.
a couple back here.
So
this one.
I'm sure that has a lot to do with your discipline in life and
yeah. Black belt, I love it.
That is crazy. So you
were working at, from what Wikipedia says, you were working at Juvenile.
I'm on Wikipedia.
I think so.
What's his net worth?
I better go look at that.
I mean, quick Google, you can find out.
No, yeah, you're good.
But yeah, it was saying that you worked with like troubled youths and in a juvenile center and stuff like that. And I was just thinking and then like the next thing it said was that you had a black belt in karate. And I was like, I wonder if he got that before he started that job, just to make sure.
I did, yeah. No, yeah, I started.
That was awesome.
Yeah, I started karate when I was 13 years old. I went to school like the first day of school in the 7th grade, and this new kid was talking about how he just got out of juvie for stabbing some kid with a pencil, and I was like kind of freaked out by that,
She is not having oh my goodness, we got a baby.
This is life, right?
Yeah, I know.
It's all good.
So,
oh my goodness. She's mad. Yeah. Okay, while they're dealing with the screaming baby of it sounds like
you better.
Sasquatch. Let's talk about Sasquatch some.
Okay.
You're an advocate of Bigfoot, or is that still in the mix? Or
I think I've had as close of an encounter as you can have without actually seeing one in the daylight. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Like we touched on, we've had a podcast about are aliens real or UFOs real, and then we touched on it yesterday. In the last podcast. But so this is a whole different world of conspiracies or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I mean, you are like, my dad was 110% certain he saw a UFO one time.
Really?
And growing up like that, I'm like, okay, then that's got to be the truth. That's real. So
I live like basically hour and a half away from Area 51 and that whole area right here.
Really?
Yeah.
I want to go to that so bad.
Yeah. I've seen a couple of weird things in the sky, but nothing like a straight up UFO. Like
24 hours in Area 51 challenge.
That would be dope. I totally want to take my truck out and see how close I can get, or like go and see where everybody is. That'd be a fun video. Maybe I'll go do that.
That is crazy.
Cool.
We were talking about Bob Lazar. That's who it is. It just came to me. I couldn't remember. And Joe Rogan had a podcast, and they just came out with a Netflix series about the whole Area 51 stuff.
Right.
She just wants her mama. She just wants me to hold her. Come on, I'll leave you alone for 2 minutes, and you're talking about aliens.
That's all. We went to Bigfoot and then aliens.
Sasquatch. Let's talk about Bigfoot.
Right.
I wanted to. I'm sorry. I'm gonna take back over for a second, and then I'll listen while I calm her down. But when you met your wife, was she into all that? Like when y'all got married, and was it you that decided to do this? Was it her? How did she react, to this whole YouTube life that you wanted to, and the vlogging and the filming all the time?
Ginger, it went really naturally, honestly. She was always really supportive. She didn't get involved a whole lot, like as far as like getting in front of the camera and running it and everything. I did it all solo for a long time. But honestly, it was like, because it started with the weight loss stuff, she was like cool with it, like joining a group, and then it became all this other stuff, and then skits, and like she saw that I had the following and that I was happier and we were actually getting out and doing stuff. Yeah. And we started like filming the kids when we started vlogging and stuff. So we were started capturing the moments, with the kids growing up and things. And it went from the weight loss to the vlogging for a long time. And so so then she was in the vlogs and a part of it, and then she started running the camera and getting some of the footage while I was at work during the day, and it just kind of naturally progressed. But when she really jumped in was when like, when all of a sudden we had friends and stuff and got talking to people, and we realized, oh, there's like this strategy to all this, like this whole, you go to some conventions and you meet a few people and you realize that they're looking at this game a lot differently than just putting up a video and being like, I hope people like it. They're actually using a formula here, they understand the strategy behind it a little bit.
That was the biggest transition for us as far as that goes, because it was such a daily grind of just, I'm having fun. Like, I don't care.
Right.
Like, what is this? Okay. And then all of a sudden, all these brands started reaching out, and then we had a meeting with our tax guy after the first time we started, and he was like, well, what are y'all doing? Like, where's all this money coming from? And we're like, I don't know. Like, we're just having fun. Like, he's like, you need to set up an LLC. You need to get this done. You got to get this done. I'm like, whoa, we're like a freaking mom and pop gas station all of a sudden, living.
Everything gets lined out. All of a sudden you have accountants and you have like a brand manager and you have all this stuff going on. Yeah.
So it kind of takes the fun out of it, but it's like, I think Shay says it's sometimes the best. Like, it's a dream of a dream you never knew you had, like when you look at it at the end of the day, just like I would have never in a million years sat here thinking, especially 10 years ago, that we'd be sitting here doing a podcast right now with a Lancelot.
Right. Right. But here we are. We always just find ourselves where we're at.
That's crazy. So I want to touch on, you've talked a lot about depression, you've touched on some about your depression, and then you actually sent me a video the other day about some meditation stuff. Is that we do? There's actually a lady in Utah, I think, that we've met through a brand thing on YouTube, and she's an Instagram mom, but her name's Simply Sadie Jane, and she has this kids meditation stuff, and it's focused for the kids, and every morning before school they ask for it now, and it's just like, today I will have a great day. Deep breath in, deep breath out, and and so when you sent that, I was like, this is so relevant to our situation that I felt like it was.
I've definitely got into all of that. It just sort of happened, honestly. It was another thing I just kind of fell into, just in the same way of just always adapting and changing to try and keep things going with work. It's like, how can we be happy? Like, how can we be here and still like not be at peace within ourselves? What's the point 10 years later if you look back and you're like, I didn't even enjoy it? Like, what the heck? Like, I was stressed out the whole time. What's wrong with me? Like, I literally lived my dream and got here, fulfilled the whole journey that I set out with my 5 life goals that I started out with, way surpassed that. Why am I still not happy? Like, and so I realized like it was within me, and some of it was like within the culture that I was in, the religion that I was in, where we lived, the environment and all that. And so we started just peeling those layers back, like the first thing was to move to like a better location, like with a better climate, warmer weather. So we moved like to southern Utah. And even just the elevation change, weird enough, like helped a lot. The sunshine and the weather was nicer. All of that like helped. We went and did hormone replacement therapy. So we actually went
Katie's doing that right now.
Yeah,
She's
man.
got pellets in her butt.
I just went and got my blood drawn again for another checkup, but it's totally worth it. Yeah. You go, you know,
we'll get back to but like, I'm like wondering if I need to go get checked out now. Like,
yeah, you should. I mean, it's like you go in when you get sick, but when you're feeling good, you go into the hormone therapist. It's not that much. It doesn't cost that much money. They do a blood draw, and then you go back like 2 weeks later, and they look at everything. And instead of just seeing if you're sick, they say, okay, let's get you optimized. What do you want to do? And I say, well, I want to lose weight and have more energy and positivity. And they can use what they call bioidentical hormone replacement. So it's not like synthetic stuff. It's like biologically identical to your human hormones, and then you supplement with that, and you feel better. Like,
yeah,
in a lot of ways. And then we did that, and there was a lot of that. We, you know, adjusted like some people and friendships in our lives and created some space that way. We got therapists, and we did therapy and counseling and stuff. The kids do counseling with a coach and everything.
The kids too. That's
all of it.
Oh wow. I guess they're older. How old are they? You got 10-year-old and then Gage and Luke?
Like a 14 and 15-year-old. Yeah, Gage is getting ready to drive. Yeah, he's got his learner's permit.
Crazy.
So we did the therapy, we worked on a marriage, and then it was like, and now I'm on this, I'm still going. I'm just like, I got in after leaving religion, like organized religion. I was a Mormon in the LDS church. And after we left that, it was like, it wasn't like there was a void there or anything. It was just like I took an interest in philosophy because you're still confused about the thoughts in your head. I still wanted to work on depression and my own thought processes and stuff. Coming from a background and a degree in social work, it's like, and doing counseling with kids and stuff in my past, like I'm already kind of in my own mind and headspace, being aware a lot of my own thought processes. So I kind of got into philosophy, like Plato and Socrates and a lot of the traditional ones that you learn in school a little bit. And then I came across this guy named Alan Watts, who's like a philosopher, like a Zen Buddhist guy. He was a Catholic priest for a long time and then left that. And then he just like wrote these books, and he kind of like, in the end, he's just kind of like a wise man who kind of ties it all together. So I got into a lot of his books, and I ended up reading like 12 books in like 2 months, like crazy amount. Like, well, not just his stuff, but a bunch of stuff. Like, and I got way into the Eastern philosophy, like Buddhism and Zen stuff, and not really the religion part of it, and not even like the rituals, or I don't like hold on to crystals or sit like on a special mat. I don't face any directions or anything. It's all inward awareness and peace of mind within the self type of work that I glean out of it. That feels like it's not, doesn't have anything to do with whether I'm wearing robes or not, or whether I'm in a sitting somewhere particular or repeating some phrase or thing. Like, I almost find that like I'm kind of digging into this. Is this okay?
This is awesome. This is awesome.
So like you were talking about meditation, there's like a huge gradient of that. Like there's a huge trend right now that's this law of attraction, this positive self-talk stuff that's like, I'm really good, and someday I'm going to have $1 million, and I'm going to have my house, and I'm going to be happy. And you talk positively to yourself and
put it in the universe.
That's I think that is sick and wrong, honestly. I think that's honestly, at my core, I've found that that's caused just as much hurt and pain in my life as all of the negativity. And they're both just different sides of the ego that with who I think I am, that ends up always hurting myself.
Really?
In the end. So like, normally,
you're putting your expectations too high, or
always, inevitably
so you feel bad about yourself if you don't hit them, and
even when you post on Instagram, how does it feel? Like when you upload a video, what does that? There's this desire and attachment for a particular result that never, ever, ever lives up, does it, Cullen?
No.
Has it ever met your hope and desire ever?
No. And when it does just for a brief second, and then you'll get a rude comment or something, and it's like, okay, this sucks.
Right.
Or, you know,
so the meditation stuff says that, like, or the part of it that I'm kind of into is more the Zen stuff. There's lots of different parts of it. But that would say that, like, all of those thoughts, the big wishing and positive thinking expectations is just as damaging on your peace of mind, because you're creating these deadlines and expectations that drag you along through life unnaturally, as much as the negative thoughts of the fears and disasters. Because the truth is, with every upload, you always think the duality, which is that yin and yang, right? That symbol of the flow. So you go to upload a video, and every time within yourself, you have two ends of the spectrum that you imagine, all within the mind, imagined that it's going to do amazing, and you hope that it's going to kill it and do awesome, and you have this positive expectation. But lurking in the background is also this fear that YouTube's going to crash, it's going to get demonetized, it's not going to get seen, and you feel both emotions at the same time, and it just feels like anxiety running through the body, and it just creates this pressure and anxiety and this fear, because that's your mind's inability to predict the future. No matter what, you don't even know what's coming the next 5 seconds. And so you're hoping and hoping both, and you're trying to beware of the bad and hope for the good. And it just creates this ever increasing pressure the bigger your life expands, into stress and pressure, even the good. And so what the meditation and the Zen stuff has done for me is realizing that all those thoughts about the past, about good hopes for the future and bad fears and all that stuff, all that thinking, none of that is really where I'm at right now.
In the present.
Yeah.
That was part of that video I think you sent me. Eckart or
Eckart Tolle.
What's his name?
Eckhart Tolle.
Eckhart Tolle,
yeah. He's from Germany, so he has a German name.
Any like some type of psychology background too, or maybe not? Katie recognized the name when I said that, but maybe she just had some reference to him. But
he's just considered like a spiritual guru kind of now. But really, he was a guy who was about to commit suicide, and then had his ego separate from himself, and he realized that what he wanted to kill wasn't even who he really was.
Wow.
And he realized that all the thinking in his head was just illusory, meaning like even almost every single thought in your head is about an imagination. It's not even right here and now. Even when you think about the past, you're doing it from right here and now by imagining it within the mind, like almost like a virtual reality space that opens up within the mind, and then you walk through that space within the mind, but you're not really there. And when you think about the future, you do the same thing. So when you think about the past, it's always either like trying to reference to know how to make decisions from the past, so but the past is so like the wake behind a ship, it just is gone pretty quick. So it's hard to look back on. But anyway, meditation is the practice of like clearing out those thoughts, the constant chatter in your head, and getting back to here and now, and realizing that you're okay, and that all that running around in the head that goes on, good and bad, isn't even who you are.
Yeah. So I just started a new. That's amazing. Yeah, so valuable. It's right there with all that information. I just started a new new therapy therapist by myself last week. I'm actually missing this. After the first session, he was like, I normally don't do this, but I do a men's ministry from 12 to 1 with a bunch of other guys. Yeah. And, I went to that immediately after my first session with this guy. Very, very informative. But in that session afterward, he said, feelings are just basically feelings are feelings, and they're like if you're feeling distress right now, if you're feeling hopelessness right now, you're not going to feel that in 5 minutes. I mean, you may feel it in 5 minutes. But if you sleep on it or wake up tomorrow, you may, that feeling is going to go away. And could you imagine like living a life to where if you had if you could like taste a feeling that you had 5 years ago, right? Like, I mean, that would just taste or feel like that would just, so it's not. You
almost can when it gets really visceral, when you're really living, like post-traumatic stress disorder. I've had a couple of incidents of that. It gets as close as you can get to like a waking nightmare, like being reliving it in the memory so vividly that you're having a physical reaction to it, and you can almost smell the room.
Right.
I was about to say physical reactions are huge too in this. I think what you're talking about, because I've been listening to some books, and you know, as soon as you start to have a reaction to what somebody says about something about your past or something like that, usually the neck will get red or your cheeks.
It's the vagus nerve. It's the vagus nerve, man.
The vagus nerve.
It's spelled VAGUS. It goes from the base part of the brain, like the monkey brain from evolution. Right. It goes in the back of your eyes and makes you cry. And back of your sinuses.
You can't control
your throat. It tightens your throat. It goes down, makes your heart tighten, and it turns your stomach. It goes right down the whole. Everything that you feel is just like a surge going through that big nerve ending.
And so it's super important to be aware of your physical aspects of feelings versus, you know, trying to suppress it or hide it. Like, when you physically feel something, that's your body reacting neurologically to the circumstance that you're talking about.
And meditation would say that those feelings that you have within the body are not you. They are just part of your current life situation.
Right.
And your psychological or your ego's response to that.
See, I think of meditation, and I think like clear your mind, which I actually like. I'm a big fan. I'm more spiritual. I've never been, you know, very religious, but I'm spiritual, and I think that it's like, have you ever done, what's that thing called, the big egg, the salt flotation device therapy?
Oh, the isolation chamber stuff. Chamber. I haven't done that yet. I really want to.
It's pretty cool. It's tricky.
Yeah, have you done it?
Yeah, like after I've done
black, that. Like no.
Oh yeah, so it's like perfect. So here's the deal with that. It's like perfect temperature of your body, and it's just a little bit of water, but it's very salty water. So you're floating on top of this, you're like in this egg, but they close down on you like a tanning bed, but it's completely sealed off. So you're inside this egg. It's pitch black. It's just, you're naked. You're in this. But you don't know where the water ends and the air begins because it's all the same temperature.
So it's like you're floating through space in perfect temperature with no sound.
Right.
Only what's coming from inside yourself, right?
You have no option but to just be with one.
Right. And imagine, like, this is like, like the night before I'd been out partying with my buddies. I'm 20 something years old. I'm out partying. I live in Denver, single, you know what I mean? Doing my thing. And the next day, my buddy's like, hey, I booked us this therapist meditation thing, you know, whatever. And I get there and I was like, just very much skeptical of the whole thing. I'm like, yeah, whatever. And and I get in it, and this is what changed me and my belief towards the whole meditation and that kind of stuff. It was sorry, every time I try to talk. But it's that. So after about an hour being in that thing, I literally felt like I was moving like this, like up and down, and like I was riding. The
mind
waves.
starts to
like
create.
I didn't know where up was.
That's crazy.
And it was the trippiest thing because you're just sitting in there, and at first you're like, well, this is weird. I'm just naked in some water in this room, you know?
And then the shrooms kicked in.
Right. No, here's what's weird. What you're talking about, that philosopher I was telling you earlier about, Alan Watts, there's a Hindu belief or kind of theory that he gleans out of that's really fascinating. So, and we can get into that, but it's this idea that, just imagine for a second that, just hang with me, I'm not going to try and offend anybody. This is just philosophy talk here, okay? Just imagine for a second.
Our dad was a philosopher.
Imagine for yourself, for just a second, that you become aware. And you're the only thing there, a consciousness alone in space. Basically, you're God alone. And there's nothing there. It's just you're aware.
Yeah.
Like, here I am. How long?
That's exactly what it was like, too.
So as you sit here right now, how long can you go before you think a thought? How long can you just think nothing?
No, the whole time I'm like, am I thinking about nothing right?
3-4 seconds, right? You can only go like 3 or 4 seconds. So imagine you're in the emptiness of nothing, not even space, because there's no stars to say it's space. It's just a nothingness. And what would generate that? All of the creation and everything, after a certain amount of time, you'd start just imagining things.
Right.
And that would be where the reality would spawn, would be from within the self. It would all come from that core of imaginations. When you go in an isolation chamber and then you clear your mind, within about an hour to an hour and a half, they say, you just start full-blown hallucinating like it's real.
Yeah, I was tripping.
Because that's the way the mind works. So imagine you're God and you're in the emptiness of space. You have forever, because it's the eternal now. There is no time. You're just here existing. Boom. And you would play out all these fantasies just like a kid does. You'd go fight dragons, imaginary creatures. You'd create worlds. You'd do all kinds of stuff, right? But after a billion, trillion years, Cullen, eventually you'd have done just about everything that you could think of on your own, that you could even make up from your own consciousness, right?
Right.
And eventually the only way to not get bored would be to invent some sort of a button that says, surprise me, that you could hit. Or some sort of a method that you could forget where you came from and just have some sort of an experience that felt full of danger and all sorts of stuff, but not too bad.
Right, controlled
and
danger.
And you'd also have friends placed along the way, like me and like you, that would help wake each other up along the way and heal each other and learn things along the way. That's all part of it to make it safe. And you'd find your life kind of going just enough exciting and dangerous and just enough problems to keep it interesting, so that when you woke up, you could turn around, and when you were like, wait, and then you realize, wow, you know, that was what a trip, you know, but you're better off for it, and you've had these experiences, and let's do it again. You know.
Right.
And that's kind of where this idea of like reincarnation spins out of and gets all into different stuff. But really, the core of where it comes from is like when you're alone with yourself forever, like you're going to just kind of like find yourself here eventually.
Yeah. We're gonna try to rock the baby here.
So they would say that this. So what you're doing right now would be one of those go arounds.
Right. For her.
I don't know if I believe that. I just think it's an interesting way to see it.
Well, I know after I had that experience, like I was a believer, because I was just like, yeah, this is just a bunch of crap. They're trying to just take our money, and they're sitting us in this box for an hour. It's like, what? But it was crazy because it took a while. Like, he was like, that was dumb. Let's go eat. You know what I mean? Like,
because he probably sat in there just thinking the whole time, like he does when he's outside.
Yeah. He didn't take it seriously, and he was just, thinking of wishing he had his phone or whatever. But but
how long is this going to take?
I was trying to live in the moment and enjoy the experience or whatever. And it took about 45, 50 minutes, but that last 10 felt like a day. You know what I mean? Because it was I was just like, no way. I was like having to like lift my arms, like, no way. Am I upright right now? Like, that's what it felt like.
It starts to disorient everything.
Which direction is and then after that, I was like, just really trying to think of nothing. You know what I mean? And really just try to clear my mind. And then after that day, I was like, there's something to this, for my self health. This is good for my mental health. This is a good thing. And that's when I kind of started looking into meditation and doing meditation and trying to just, forgive myself and release all of the bad, everything, the expectations and all that stuff.
Which naturally happens when you come back to right here now. Like if you can really get in that moment and let it go and really be right where you're at, even within your thoughts, and you're not sitting there chattering on about, I got to go do this and I got to do, and you can really just be in the room that you're in. You're fine. You're fine.
Yeah. A lot of
You're
people
usually
don't really know.
fine.
A lot of people that I've talked to when I would do like yoga and stuff like that. And a lot of these girls, they'd be like, I just can never meditate. Cause afterwards we would always just sit and kind of meditate. And it was supposed to be like a few minutes at the end of the yoga where you sit and meditate. And so I just remember, for me, it always worked the best for me is, and I would tell these girls, find your happy place. And I would close my eyes and I would literally think about being on a tube in the river on a hot summer day, but there was a tree over me. Like I knew every detail because I've been there before. That was like my happy place in my head. I had a cold beer and it was hot, but you know, it's kind of in the shade and the sun and the water is rushing by me. And
that's a type of meditation called Tao, T-A-O. It's a type of Buddhist meditation where
a hot tea.
Yeah, T-A-O. Yeah. It's a I'm still new to all this, so if people know a lot about this, come across this. I'm kind of like just my interpretation of it. But the Tao meditation is where you guide your thoughts in a controlled way in order to guide your path, but you're supposed to do that free of emotional attachments to those visualizations and those hopes in that place. So you don't get emotional about it. Like if I go back on the river, I don't wake up from that and feel like, great, now where I live right now is crap. I wish I could just go back to that place. So you can't attach to that. So that would be like, Tao would be like becoming the observer of your thoughts, but stepping behind them and kind of using them as a tool, right? So day to day, normally I'm like walking around kind of in the Tao meditation, but when I really meditate, there's into Zen, it's a step further than that, where you go into that visualization. Like there's a lot of different kind of ways that I do it, but like one of them using that method, the Tao first, would be like visualizing I'm on the tube in the river.
Right.
But I'm also have my eyes open here. And I also have my ears open here. I'm also aware of the room around me spatially, but not so much all the stuff in the room, the empty space in the room.
Right, yeah.
Like all the stuff I can't quite grasp within the room. Like what makes space go on forever is not the stars, but the emptiness goes on forever. Right. Whoa. So I start thinking profound things, but then I remember, okay, I'm on the tube. I'm thinking of a canal from my youth. Right. I'm on the tube and I'm floating down and I see it there in my mind. Like you can visualize it, right?
Right.
So now you're in charge of the ego. You're visualizing. You're hearing the water. Right now you're let's just do it. You're hearing my voice. You're hearing my voice in your thoughts. Like my voice is your thoughts. Okay. It's like you're on the river. Open your eyes though. Look around the room still. But you're on the river within the mind.
Right, just riding.
On the tube, floating down the river, right? So now here's the thing though, is that there's a pause between the visualizing. There's a pause between the thoughts. So there's this sentence right here within your mind. And then there's the next one. But there's actually a slight pause between there where there's no thinking at all, where you don't have to even visualize it all. So we're on the river. So let's visualize for a minute. Okay. But remember that pause. Okay.
It's hard for me to do this with my eyes open.
No, it's okay.
I'm not in the river. I'm at Cullen's house.
Just wait. It's okay. Don't analyze it. Okay. Here's another thing to add on to this as another little layer to help. Don't name anything in the room. Don't say, oh, here's a tripod. There's a baby. Quit naming everything. Okay. So now you're on the river. There's this. You're thinking about the river. Now let that whole visualization just disappear and come into the room where you're at. And just here's my voice. And my voice is like your thoughts in your head. But there's a pause in the middle. So when I quit talking, your thoughts can also quit for a moment and give you some peace. So there's this. See it. Hold on. Don't talk yet. Just wait. Just wait. Stay with me.
Okay, I got you.
Okay, so there's this thought right here. And we're going to pretend like the next thought that's going to come out of your mind is like a mouse coming out of a mouse hole. And you're the cat going to catch it, but you're not going to think anything. Just going to stay in the middle of the thoughts, okay? So there's this thought right here that I'm the words in your mind. There's this thought right here. And the next one. But we don't have to have the next one for a moment. There's this thought here. And then there's
Do we lose audio again?
No. We're meditating, yo.
It's like a cliffhanger. It's like I'm hanging on.
No, yeah. So a cliffhanger within the thoughts. That's a great way. You give your mind a cliffhanger, and then you just let it go like the Northern Lights. All you're thinking, into the aurora borealis, and all your conscious thoughts and words and labels and everything just stop, and you just are what you are.
I love it.
Zen is not even visualizing. You're not thinking. You are here and now, present, clear-minded.
Yeah.
Try it you'll go home and you'll try it. It's hard.
Yeah, I mean,
we're live streaming. If you go home
it's crazy though. I wonder if you could actually tell me if this is a way, but like, you know how when, like for me, I know there's this way, which is awesome. And I'm definitely going to like actually focus and try to do that. But what always kind of worked for me, because I knew that there was lots of different methods. Like they would talk about how you can meditate while you're walking. You know what I mean? Like going for a walk, walking meditation.
I'm just now getting there. Yeah.
Right. But like, I guess for me, because I could never really get there, you know, I'd always just, and then I get frustrated because I couldn't get there. And then it would just kind of, it was like, this is stupid.
Because you're missing that.
Making me worse.
You've got to have that next step that you're missing, which is you're visualizing. So you're getting control of your thoughts and visualizations out in front of you. Like instead of being lost in your own mind and your daydreams, just being dragged around, you're kind of like, okay, this is what I'm going to think about. And you bring it in front of you, right? In your mind, in your awareness. And then when you go to meditate, to really find out who you are, you take all of that in front of you and you really visualize it heavily. And then you go, and you realize all those things in your mind are not you. They are imagined. And I am here now without a thought. And you see clearly. I'm telling you, you see clearly. You look down at your body and you feel invigorated in your body. You see bees flying through the flowers outside, and you feel emotion and you feel like deep down at your core, all these imaginations, everything that you think about yourself, when you get down to the core, there's a good without any opposite. And you're not the depression. You're not all these fears about your marriage. You're not even a YouTuber. You're not even the name that your parents gave you when you were born. The thoughts that you think in your head are in English in an Alabama accent because all of that was put in there by other people. That's not you.
Dang, my mind is blown.
It's like, you remember Descartes? Daddy's always talking about Descartes, and like
he was only half right.
Yeah. Well, I know this. I know that like when I really got into the whole meditation thing, I read some books about it or whatever. And I don't know what form of meditation this is or whatever, but girls would ask me in my yoga, whatever, about how like, they're like, I just can't, because somebody would breathe too loud or something would happen, or, you know, it's supposed to be quiet in the room, but somebody would cough. And then
that's because you're trying to stay somewhere else.
Right. Yeah. But the what I would tell them,
that's an imagination.
This might be a method you know of, and I don't know the name of it, but what I would tell them to do and what worked for me when I was really trying to just clear my mind, because I always felt better after doing this, but I would just imagine in my head that I'm on that river or whatever, and that the tree above me that's shading me, like if I had a thought come into my head, like, oh, what am I going to have for dinner? Okay, that thought. I would take that thought and I would imagine that a leaf fell from the tree, and I put my thought on that leaf and then let it hit the river and then let it float down the river. I don't know why.
Britany, Lao Tzu, listen, Lao Tzu, the Buddhist Zen philosopher, I don't know if he was Zen, he wrote the Tao Te Ching, which is like the guide for Tao meditation for visualization. He describes the stream of consciousness and each thought being like a leaf on the stream. Yeah. But the problem is that there's a problem in society where we identify with the leaves and we try to pick them all up and sort them all out. Yeah. And it causes depression and anxiety and fretting. But the leaves are just going to go by. The thoughts go on. You can only go 4 seconds and they just go, just like your heart beating and your lungs breathing. Your mind just analyzes. That's what it knows how to do. So what you do is you learn how to be the observer of the thoughts coming and going, and you only pick up the ones that you want to think about or decide actually matter. And you become more efficient in your day and your emotions and your thinking with that peace of mind, not identifying with all those thoughts, just knowing that there's a stream of thoughts going to go on over here.
Right.
And I feel like you just like helped cure my anxiety that I've had.
Dude, I'm telling you, I had a major attachment disorder problem diagnosed. That's just like.
Have you ever thought about like starting like a meditation podcast or YouTube channel?
Yeah. Where you just
you can like coach people.
I'm telling you, that is what it's called. I think that's probably the book that I read. I don't know how
Tao
to pronounce it, but
yeah.
Tao Te Ching. Okay, that's probably where I read that, because I read a bunch of books on meditation, trying to figure out if this is something that would work with me. Because at the time I was in the lowest point of my life. I was so depressed, and it helped me. You know what I mean? It was actually, and I was grabbing at straws. I was looking for anything that I could do to escape where I was in my life. Right. And, that it worked for me. That method, worked for me. And it's been a while since I've needed, but it really did kind of pull me out of that depression that I was in. Yeah. And every day I knew that after I did my yoga and I did my meditation, I went to my happy place and I put those thoughts on the stream, all those worries on the stream, and let it go down the river and just, watch it float away. Afterwards, I always felt like this huge weight had been lifted off my chest, and then I was a little bit better. And then the next day I was a little bit better than that. And then the next day I was a little bit better than that, until eventually I found myself smiling and laughing and trying to be present and in the day and in the moment, and just make the best of that, and stop worrying what ifs and all that stuff,
Yeah, because as soon as
I'm on board with all that stuff.
Totally. As soon as you start trying to visualize the future, both good and bad, it just starts to drag you that way, one way or another, unnaturally in a way. And so being here and now lets you see clearly which way is the best to go. Like, it really is. It's so hard. You're never going to know, sitting there imagining in your mind what the best outcome is going to be. Like, the clearest way to know that is to clear your mind and to be here and now. And then you look around and you say, I need to put batteries in the camera. I need to clear some SD cards off. I should go do some SEO research. And when you're really right here and now, and you're not arguing with my mom or whatever in my mind for 6 hours over here, or reliving some thing from the past I wish I could have done different, or like, oh my gosh, what if I get demonetized? And you find yourself almost in a paralysis where you're just, sometimes you're sitting on the couch or you're engaged in some texting with somebody, and in the mind, you're literally in almost another realm, and your body's sitting there paralyzed.
This is like me, right?
Emotional paralysis, physical emotional paralysis, and everybody has a different way that resonates. And like Cullen, yours is like starts with the emotions, right? So even though you're clear-headed and you're like, I'm just trying to do what's right, there's this feeling that goes whoa in the deep within that you feel like is you at the core, and it's not. It's a nerve that runs through the spinal column that feels like anytime your ego is threatened, or you've been told that you're wrong, or somebody comes up and says, why did you do this? Like, and that triggers, because like somewhere deep down primal, we just start imagining the worst.
Yeah. Me and Katie had an argument the other day about a like a Nutri-Grain bar or something that was in her purse, and the dog ate it. And I said, well, I've been picking the purse up for the past week. And she's like, I wish you would just let me know that things bothered you, instead of, and I was like, I never said it bothered me. It doesn't bother me. I just took care of it. And like, we got in a fight over a freaking Nutri-Grain bar.
And then that feeling within the body feels like a nuclear energy that has this radiation that just holds there. And even when you know in your mind that you're wrong or that it's over, it's almost like that radiation has to pass. And I'll tell you, I still experience that. Like, I still feel it when I think about my dad suffering and dying with dementia in a nursing home, right? Like, I still can feel that come up within myself, because I feel it triggers my attachments to my dad. Like, I miss him, like your dad and stuff. Like, I can trigger that nerve right now.
Yeah. You just triggered mine talking about yours.
Yeah. The more you become aware that that's just a physiological response that can have sincerity, but doesn't have to rule your life, and you don't have to identify with it as who you are. That is not, that feeling in your chest is not the totality of your life, Cullen.
Right.
or who you are and what you have to give the world. And it doesn't have to be the core of what drives what comes out of your mouth or how you feel about yourself or friends or anybody. It's not even you. It's not even you. Because if I came over there and I took your left arm off and put it in a bin, that's not you.
Look at her. You triggered her. You triggered
her.
No,
it's good.
That's good. Let it out.
It's genuine. It's genuine. This is sincere, right?
That, though, you know.
Yeah, I do.
If I came over there and I took off your other arm and I took your legs off, is that you, Cullen?
Yeah, no.
No. If I came and took your eyes and your hat and your glasses and all your clothes, is that you?
No.
How far would I have to go? You're not even the thoughts in your head that just run automatically the second you wake up. Holy shit, I got to do this. I got to do that. I'm never going to. That's all imaginary, man. It's not even you.
Yeah. So who are you? How do you find that out?
Zen meditation. I mean? You go back to.
It's good. It's a good, you know, you want it to be good. You hope it's good, I guess.
You're going to find that you're that same good without opposite that everybody else is if they could get over themselves.
Yeah.
Deep down at your core, when you're arguing with Katie or when you're in the thing, the one thing that frustrates you the most is if you could just see who I am on the inside and what my heart feels right now, it would all be over. And you realize that I just let, you know, that is you. Yeah. That is the you. That is the you.
I even said that in the argument. I was like,
that is the you.
Good intentions.
Everything else that's happening outside of that is the you. In there is all just the imaginations and daydreaming and the dreading over the past that you're just doing within your head that I somehow got out of through Zen, out of desperation. I was going crazy.
Yeah.
I
love that. I'm a big fan already. I think that I know all three of us are going through a transitional time in our life. I guess we always are, but that's when everything seems the heaviest. You know, and so I don't know. I just think that's if it lightens your load a little bit, then you know why not try it.
I need some links.
I think honestly, like Eckart Tolle, he has a book called The Power of Now. I highly recommend it. Power of Now. When I read his book, the first chapter of his book is like the same thing I experienced when I was sitting out on my swings in the backyard like 2 weeks before when I picked up his book. I was like, wow, that's the same thing I had happen to me, where I felt my whole life die in front of me. And here I still was like.
That's so that you've got that, you know, like when you.
The stupid note. There we go. Whew.
Sorry about that. But anyway, the one thing I think that deters people is like they go look up Eckart Tolle and they immediately judge the way he looks or his accent, or they hear stuff like Zen and you think of these old Chinese people in orange robes and they just. But there's a wisdom within the human experience that we all share in there, and like who we are. That can kind of be pulled out of that I think I kind of stumbled into.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You've come like a long way though. I mean, this conversation here started with, we were talking about how you were a Mormon, you were a big in the Mormon church, and then to go from that and then to a more spiritual way of thinking and a way of life. And
it seems like it's benefited you more, like in the end, like just from your knowledge and
I don't know anything really about. I'm very ignorant to religions, but when for a lot of people, when they hear the word Mormon, you just think like very strict, I just think strict.
I'd say for me, it was on the opposite end of the spectrum. You know, it was a lot of conformity and a lot of like dress codes kind of, and rituals and very pyramid-shaped authority systems and stuff and it just kind of was at odds with who I was in my in my human nature and my peace of mind. And I just think I don't know if I could have ever found that peace of mind and who I was within such a giant, elaborate system of organizations and lesson manuals and
too much
personal progress and mission my God, memorization and scriptures and everything. Like, how am I supposed to know what God's trying to tell me if I don't even know who is the me that's thinking in here, whose voice is whose? Because as a member of the church, I was taught that all the thoughts in my head were either from God trying to tell me things, or my own thoughts and questions, my own mind, but then also maybe my ancestors trying to reach out to me from the spirit world, or even Satan's minions trying to trick me. And so in my mind, I can't sort it all out. And I realized that, like, well, that's why I keep going to church looking for answers, and why I keep paying them tithing and doing all this stuff. And I just went and had to separate from all that.
Okay.
And look within, you know, like, and I realized what's really, really weird is that as I dug into the ancient Buddhism stuff, I realized that a lot of what Jesus says in the New Testament, it comes out of Buddhism.
Yeah.
And up until he was like 29 years old, there's a good chance he may have been hiding in Tibet, like at a Buddhist monastery. And a lot of the teachings of the New Testament might actually come from Zen staff or Buddhist trainings and teachings. And there's a vein of that cuts through that brought me full circle again. And like, okay, so like I stepped away from church and God and everything. And I'm kind of like finding what it's all really about within myself.
It's like simplified and back to the core of it and the raw, you know,
but
the whole point is to feel good and be happy and be a good person. And, you know,
free from sins, free from guilt, free from suffering. You're never going to get over like discomforts and pains and things. Like I live with chronic pain, but suffering is totally within the head, within your mind. Like that feeling, all of that, like you feel that feeling within your body. And as soon as you learn to kind of become aware of what that is, you're already getting like control and stepping that away from that, you know?
Yeah.
Getting more.
I read somewhere you can have like, what is it? Like it takes 5 seconds for your blood pressure to have a bad, like, as soon as somebody says something, you can, or 3 seconds, like you physiologically have 3 seconds to
respond,
like be mad or just brush it off. And the other night when I was like, I did not even think about 3 seconds during this argument that we just had, you know,
it just goes. And when you think about what the body does, it's kind of the same a little in little varieties, but what you do in your own mind, in the conversation in your own head, in the midst of that argument is like, wow, you know, you can sit there while they're talking and they're trying to apologize and you're going still up here. And learning how to realize that is not you. And you know that deep down, you know that even while your mind is going, trying to win that argument, you deep down wish you could just go and go back to being in love, and that stupid bar in the purse was down.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I mean, well, a lot, I think.
Isn't that weird? How our
because
minds just go boom like a tornado.
It's like you're not even listening to what the other person's saying.
No.
You're just thinking of what you're going to say next when it's your turn to talk.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of stuff.
Well, and then half the time I'm like, I'm just going to let this go. I'm just going to let this go. And then right when I've made my mind up that I'm going to let it go, she'll say one last thing. And I'm like, oh, no, you didn't say that.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it, too, has to do with, like, the external circumstances, too. It wasn't just about the bar. It was all the frustration and anxiety that we've been
the life situation, all the frustrations tie together like a thread. Yeah. And it all builds up like Jenga, you know, like pulling the pieces out. Yeah.
And it's going to crash down eventually, right?
Right.
Yeah. Cullen, this is something I think you should like really look into.
I really want some links. I want some links to all that.
Yeah. Well, we just talk, dude. We're friends. You just call me and we'll just talk too.
Yeah, no, this is so intriguing to me. And the more
I mean, you're good at it too. It's funny because like you were just a minute ago and I'm like, okay, this is, you know, meditating right now. But when you were talking about taking the river and putting it with my eyes open in the room, like I literally imagined the river like exploding into this room.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like, is that?
And then you don't name anything, you don't label anything, and you just go, yeah. And then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, peace of mind.
Yeah.
That the new therapist that I went to go see in that little session afterward, at the end of the thing, we said some prayers and stuff, but right before that, he said, "Don't say anything out loud. Just take whatever anxiety, whatever what you know that you have and just let it out of your mind and put it on the table, essentially. And it was like literally a minute and a half of just dead silence with 10 other guys in the room. And it was just like, I walked over there like kind of the same thing, just like,
with a lighter load.
Like, just a big deep breath. So yeah, this is like definitely up my alley.
But all he did was take that tornado and say, that's not you, and help you visualize it within yourself out on the table. And then you realize that never was me. It was just like a chatter that I could not get a grip on that was going on in there. That was affecting my emotions too. But there's a lot. There's a lot to it. I'm still kind of new to it.
At the end of the day, I mean, I think all of us want the same thing, and that's to be happier and to feel good, and you know, so working on yourself and getting into stuff like this, and you know, there's all these different ways to make yourself feel good, but your mental health, I think, is the most important. So I'm excited. I'm going to go home and meditate. I don't know about you.
I know. I can't wait. I'm going to text you after we're done with this. This is probably one of our longest podcasts we've done. We just got wrapped up.
I know. You're easy to talk to. I've never met you before. So I'm like kind of captivated. Like, man.
I'm like, keep going. Keep going.
That's cool. I appreciate it.
On them too. You got some.
Yeah, they're all Norwegian. Most of the designs I got from pictures I took off of artifacts when I went to Norway, visit like all my ancestors' sites and stuff. I got this one with my dad. That's supposed to be Thor's hammer. And then these are all just different Viking patterns and stuff. And this is like a Viking knot. It's like a compass that means like, if you know yourself, you're never lost.
Basically.
That's a great way to just wrap that all up right there.
Right.
Hey, if you'd have been on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, Cullen would have showed you his sleeve, but he
we had
it washed off.
It washed off,
That's awesome. You painted it off.
I love
it. Where can everybody find you and learn more from your family? You've obviously done a lot to yourself and in the YouTube community.
Easy to find.
Carl and Ginger Family on YouTube's our main channel where we do all the fun stuff, and we're going to start doing more like intriguing, interesting vlogs among the stuff we're doing now, like a lot of cool stuff. I just started a new Instagram called Carl Vibe on Instagram. I'm trying to I'm not really trying to do anything there. I'm mostly just like, man, I've just realized like I'm taking this ancient stuff that I feel like can solve a modern problem with everybody lost in their imagination. You know, you and I grew up in this generation where it was like, your imagination is your greatest tool, and it's like pumping. And I've realized that it's created a total mental illness within me, and I have no peace of mind because I'm completely lost in that imagination world, and I got to get back to reality. And like, so I'm trying to like take the ancient philosophies of peace of mind and knowing who you are and being at one and all that stuff with yourself and being in harmony with all things, and like not take a stereotypical hippie approach with it, but just show like this is something that you can do and still be like relevant in the world. Like it doesn't have to change who you are, like in a lot of ways. Like, but it's kind of fun to realize like to feel like I've kind of arrived at a place of peace and happiness in my life. And there's people that I could help. Like I have an audience here that might be interested, but I'm not attached to how well it goes or not. It's kind of cool.
That's awesome. Yeah,
right?
Spread the love. I like it. Get real and honest, and you'll definitely help people. I'm sure you've helped some people today, like right now on the podcast. So it's very inspiring. You're
Everybody
cool for me too.
Go follow Carl Vibe and Carl and Ginger on the internet, social media platforms.
Thanks, man.
I wish you all the happiness and success in everything you do, and thank you so much for being on the podcast today. Yeah. We loved having you. Anytime.
Wait till you meet his wife. She's so much better.
Oh, totally.
All right, she's next, okay? But Cullen, we almost wrapped up before I got to ask him. What is your don't tell mom story? What is the biggest thing you ever got in trouble with your mom for doing?
The biggest thing I ever got in trouble with my mom for doing, oh my God. Honestly,
mom didn't know.
Or she does know now, and you know.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, what's the biggest trouble?
She was real. when I had to call and tell her I left the church, that was super hard.
Really?
No, but that's not a funny story. That's not a funny story. One time when me and my friends were on dates with these girls, we thought it would be really funny to rent like a really scary movie. And we were going to go in this house, like in my friend's house in the basement. And while they were watching the movie, we were going to like shut the power off and run around and scare them, like a couple of us outside, you know, to freak everybody out. We got out there, we had it all planned, and my friend wasn't home. So like idiots, we just broke in the house.
Oh, man.
Threw a whole party. So we basically broke in a house, threw a whole party, had a whole date. There was juice like spilled in the kitchen and food all over. And my friend who helped me plan the whole thing wasn't even there. And we just said broke in and did it anyways. Yeah, we got caught for that one. But luckily at the lady's house, she wasn't. We just went back and did like clean up her yard and did a bunch of stuff, and she was cool with it. But
we got amends, huh?
I could have totally gone to jail over that one. Yeah,
right.
For sure.
Breaking and entering.
Breaking and entering. Right.
That's a good one. Well, thank you so much again for coming on. And anytime, you're welcome. We're definitely going to hit up your wife and try to get her on too. And
we could talk forever about this stuff. Links are going to be below. I'm going to get some links from you to put below for anybody that's interested in learning more about this, because I'm definitely going to go right now and try to figure some of this out.
Well,
life is crazy right now. But
hey, thank all you for listening, and if you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and like and comment and all that good stuff. And tell us if you're gonna go try out this Zen thing like we are, because I'm definitely on. I'm into it. You've convinced me.
And if you're not, then just get into Potato Olympics or something.
That's right. Just live your life and just do you.
Thanks again, Carl, for coming on. Thank everybody for listening, and stay tuned for next week.
Oh man. Don't tell mom.
Awesome. See you guys. Peace.